And staying with that electoral battle, one of the biggest issues in this midterm election in the United States was reproductive freedom, a woman's right over her body, a woman's choice to undergo an abortion. Democrats banked on the issue to drive voter turnout and retain their control over the U.S. Congress. Their leader, Joe Biden, made lofty pledges, promises to protect reproductive rights. And how has his party fared on these promises? First things first, these polls coincided with 5 state referendums, 5 ballot initiatives on the right to abortion, whether it should be granted or restricted. Meaning, when the voters went out to vote for both federal and state offices, they also weighed in on abortion, whether it should be enshrined in their state constitution or whether the right to abortion should be limited. Which 5 states were these? California, Michigan, Vermont, Kentucky, and Montana. All 5 of them held different legislative referendums. Out of them, California, Michigan, and Vermont held a vote to enshrine abortion rights in their respective state constitutions. Kentucky and Montana held a vote on limiting abortion rights. Let's start with Kentucky now. It held a referendum on amending its state constitution, a vote on whether the right to abortion should be repealed and state funding for abortion should be prohibited. The voters in Kentucky have sprung up a surprise. Despite being ruled by Republicans, they have upheld the right to choice. That's right, Kentucky voters have rejected the anti-choice ballot. According to reports, roughly 70% of the votes have been counted, and out of this, 54% voters have rejected the measure. Same story in California. It held a ballot called Proposition 1. The measure was essentially aimed at amending California's constitution and enshrining the right to reproductive freedom in it. And guess what? The voters in California have upheld this right. According to reports, 65% have voted in favor of the amendment. Only 34% have voted against it. This will essentially change the process of abortion in the state. It will remove the 24 weeks limitation for an abortion and grant people complete reproductive freedom. Next, we have Michigan. Its ballot initiative was called Proposal 3. It proposed similar reforms to the Constitution, namely forbidding prosecution for helping a pregnant woman, allowing the state to regulate abortion but not prohibit it, and grant women the right to make all decisions around pregnancy. Michigan as well has voted in favor of this amendment. They want abortion rights enshrined in their constitution. The vote will ensure that Michigan remains a haven for abortion access. Look at the support that it received. Over 55% people voted in favor of the amendment. Only 45% voted against it. And these are figures as of this evening. Next, we have Vermont. It held a referendum on establishing the right to personal reproductive autonomy. The referendum received overwhelming support from the voters. Look at the numbers. Over 77.5% voted in favor of that reform. 22.5% voted against it. And this is despite anti-abortion groups spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to convince the voters to vote no. Lastly, we have Montana, a traditional red state. It held a referendum on restricting the reproductive care. The voters there rejected it. According to reports, 53% of Montana voters have rejected the measure, while 47% have voted in its favor. What this means essentially is that abortion there in Montana is set to be decriminalized. What does this tell you? That voters across the United States want abortion rights to be protected. The vote may have been held in just 5 states, but it serves as a referendum on how opinions are changing across the country. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.